Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle and I currently live alone and trying to shift towards healthy meals whilst remaining on a budget. If you're new here, I tend to do grocery shops once a week as well as including a meal plan at the end of those videos, and then I also do a what I actually ate in the week videos as well as various recipe videos and sometimes a little bit of other content here and there as well. So if you sounds like some sort of content that you might enjoy, then please consider liking and subscribing, and of course getting involved in any of the conversations below as well. But where it is into the new year, I am trying to sort of make sure I reduce, knuckle back down, I suppose, on that focus of eating healthy. Obviously, like a lot of people, the last few weeks have been a bit hit and miss. But since around August 2025, I have lost just over a stone. That's I think it's about £15. I'm not sure what that is in kilograms. If you're one of the newfandangled people, even though I'm only in my 30s, I didn't really ever grow up using the whole kilogram system for weight measurements. So I think that works out of around 3 kilograms, something like that. So it isn't a lot, don't get me wrong. It's definitely not a huge amount, but there is progress there. And I'm trying to do that whilst keeping on a sensible budget in terms of both where I shop, making sure that I do have that food plan and meal plan ready as well for when I do go there. And that I'm constantly trying to use up things in my fridge, my freezer, and my cupboards before I just go out and purchase more of it when I already have it. And especially when you do live by yourself, so it can be quite difficult to figure out the things that you need to get, either in terms of the quantities of them or then finding ways to use them, store them until you do actually want to use the rest of them as well. So, like I said, I did end up going to just Lidl this week, and it was quite a small shop because I am, again, making sure that I do use up quite a few things. Next week will probably be bigger because I'm going to need to go to the butcher's, because if I don't, then I'll have to get it in Lidl, and that works out more expensive. But without further ado, let me show you what I got you, and then we'll come back and do the food plan afterwards. So yeah, here's what I ended up getting. I did end up filming this on my old camera. What you just seen me talking on was on my new camera. So there will be a bit of difference for this video, but I will be figuring it out for next week as to what we can do. But I did pick up some bacon medallions, or rather, my mum had 15% off for them, the same way as I had 15% off for some pork mince. So we pretty much purchased each of the item and did the trade there. It doesn't really make much difference in the grand scheme of things, but we figured it made sense. So, seeing as we both needed those items anyway. Then I picked up some more spring onions. I obviously always find these to be a pretty handy staple in a lot of recipes, or even just if I was happen to be putting them into something like some lunches or something as well. Then I grabbed some blueberries. Probably going to have some of these as part of a breakfast here and there, in the same way as I will with some of the raspberries as well. They didn't seem to have a huge selection of quite a lot of different things in the fridges this week. They were lacking a few different sort of fruit and veg options, sort of salads. Why I ended up not picking up any salad. Then I picked up a raw seafood selection that's frozen as well. They do them both as raw ones and cooked ones, but I figured it made sense to do the raw ones given the meals that I am planning to use it for. Then I also picked up some boneless wild pink salmon fillets as well from the freezer section. I was looking at other ones in the fridge section, which is where I would normally pick the salmon up from, but the ones that they had left didn't look quite right. I just decided it was safe to go for the frozen ones instead. I picked up some mature cheddar cheese. It's the reduced fat one. Thing about that is I am actually my fridge is full of cheese, but I need that for a recipe in the same way as I specifically need some grated mozzarella for a recipe as well. Again, I'd normally get sort of a fresh ball of it, but the recipe that I do need it for did suggest grated mozzarella, and I can definitely think of a few other ways that I can use it up throughout the week or the week after as well. Then I needed some leeks for a recipe, and these ones did amuse me. I just sort of have a little and large situation going on for this 2 pack of them, but I only need one anyway, and I'll just use the small one, and I will find a way to incorporate the other one probably into a meal next week, or just chopping it up into things as well throughout the week. And then I grabbed a couple of potatoes. I definitely need to use one of them for one of the meals that I will be doing this week, and I will be mentioning those once we have finished going through what I did pick up this week. But then the other one, I figured I could probably incorporate into something as well, potentially one of the meals where I am umming and ahhing over the carbs for. And then I picked up some wraps. I made sure to get the whole meal ones. I nearly picked up the seeded ones, but obviously the seeded ones actually involve a few more calories. And whilst they do have a little bit of added goodness in because of those seeds, not always, but I'd rather sort of consume the seeds by choice as and when I want them. Then I picked up some more bananas as well. I am completely out of them. Those ones have got a little bit of green on, and with how cold it constantly is in my kitchen, they'll probably stay a little bit of green or at least yellow for a fair while. And I'd completely used up the easy peelers that I had as well, so I picked some more up. I do find them to be great accompaniments to either breakfast, lunches, or just as sort of midday work snacks as well. And I picked up some sour cream. I need this again for a specific recipe, but it normally lasts a little while, so I will then be able to mix it into a few other things. And I can think of one of the meals that I intend to have that I can probably use that instead of some of the other suggestions or some of the other things that I would normally put in there. And then I got a bag of unwashed spinach. I wanted to get some baby leaf spinach, but they didn't have any left. This was the only spinach that they had. And whilst I do have some in the freezer, the recipe that I need it for does need it to be kind of more on the fresh side. So I will make sure that I use some and then I'll probably pop the rest of it into the freezer as well. And then my mum had a free drink going in her little plus. So she let me pick out one and I just grabbed a diet lemonade to go with the excessive amount of alcohol I have hanging around. So, with all that in mind, I have got my little list for my food plan for the week, and I'm going to do a fisherman's pie. I still have some white fish in the freezer, and then I obviously got that frozen salmon and those sort of frozen seafood selection mix as well. With some of the rest of that seafood selection mix, I'm probably going to do a paella somewhere along the lines as well, as I do have sort of a paella pan that I got a few weeks ago, and then some of the rice still as well. So it makes sense to crack that open and see what it's actually like and whether it's actually any good in terms of the pan quality as well. And then I still have some beef mince in the freezer, so I'm going to do some spaghetti and meatballs. Didn't particularly need to get a lot of things for this. I still have onions, mushrooms, garlic, loads of herbs, chopped tomatoes, all of that stuff, and then I have some vegetables and everything still hanging around as well that I need to use up to throw in there. I'm then going to do a sort of some pan cooked eggs with some spinach, some sort of creme fraiche, that sort of thing going on. So a pretty simple meal there, probably adding some carrots and stuff that I have in the fridge as well. Then I still have a steak in the freezer as well, and I have some red wine that I didn't end up drinking at Christmas, and I'm thinking it might be nice to make it into kind of a red wine reduction, and then obviously have some actual red wine with it as well, perhaps with either some potatoes or something. I'll see how I feel in terms of the carbs. I always have quite a few options there. But definitely that. And then again, I still have some more beef mince as well, and I'm going to try to do some beef quesadillas with it. So that's why I picked up the wraps. And I'll also use those wraps for sort of lunches or perhaps breakfasts or something along the way as well. But yeah, definitely sort of beef quesadillas with a little bit of cheese and stuff going on, especially because I do still have all of my unopened Christmas cheese, which will be sort of one of my meals and some lunches and things throughout this week. I'm going to slowly start to open them and work through them. But because of the fact that I do live by myself, I will just be opening one or two of them at a time rather than all of them, just to make sure that they don't start to go bad. Also, I don't have to try to find a big enough container to keep them all in the fridge because, as you know, the minute you open it, it sort of comes into contact with the air and some of them will start to go hard, and I don't have a big enough container to put them all into the fridge without then it interfering with everything else, so it's easier to just open one or two at a time. Then I'm also going to keep it super simple. I have some bacon medallions still in the freezer, but obviously then I did get those ones that I mentioned from Mum, where I then gave her the pork mince kind of trade off. And I got that sour cream to go with it, and I'm going to do sort of obviously a baked potato, jacket potato sort of thing. For anybody that doesn't know, I did used to live in the US. I lived there for about 5 years, and I have very much now got accustomed to the idea of a baked potato, loaded baked potato, rather with the way that I'd scoop all of the filling out and then stuff it back in there, rather than it just being as a jacket potato with filling and toppings on top. And I think that's pretty much everything that I have planned, really. Like I said, I do also have still I believe it's a pork sort of Yule log kind of thing going on from the Lidl Christmas range in the freezer as well. I'm actually going to take that out and cook it up and have it for lunches and things over a few days as well, rather than necessarily actually as a meal, especially because this week's probably going to be quite busy at work, so it makes sense to do it that way. But that is the plan. Whether I stick to the plan is another matter entirely. I do still also have a few sort of treats and snacks and things around from Christmas shopping afterwards, so they'll probably get incorporated places. I also obviously picked up those berries. I still have some yogurt, and then I have sort of porridge oats and plenty of milk and everything, as well as some sort of wheat bix and stuff. So I have plenty of things going on in terms of breakfasts. Again, I've mentioned lunches or either cheeses, that Yule log kind of situation. I definitely have those plans for dinners as well. But like I said, this week's going to be quite hectic at work, so whether I have the energy to actually carry out some of these plans is going to be a completely different story. But I hope that they were sort of some inspiring meals for you, gave you a bit of food for thought, and it gives you a rough idea as to being able to see how I've managed to keep my shopping to such a low budget this week and what it's likely to mean for next week as well. But if you did enjoy that video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. If you didn't earlier, it turns out that you did think it was actually all right and you'd quite like to come back again. Like I said, I normally do this video every Sunday. I do my meals of the week every Saturday from Y8, from a Saturday to a Friday. And then every day I try to go and do a recipe video. But like I say, I am thinking about mixing it up a little bit more in terms of some of the other content that I might do. Sort of including using up some lifestyle, sort of home things, some beauty things, the kind of things I used to do, perhaps even talking about the odd book as well. I used to do all that kind of thing quite a long time ago in a previous life before I went to the US, so I'm thinking I might pick up on that again, but we'll see how I get on with that. Let's just get through this work week first, and I'll catch you all again in the next one. Bye guys.